back on the podcast. It's been a good while. Make sure you're tuned in as we talk about the 49ers and Chargers.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3, dominate.
What is up, brother? How's it going?
Hey, we doing good. Glad to be back on the podcast and glad to start talking football. We got some obviously football news. The 49ers are coming off the bye week, a nice reset, rejuvenate, and now we got some football this weekend.
Man, I can't wait. It's kind of weird, like the bye week. You actually get to watch. Like I watch for the most part, I watch almost every game throughout the week because what I do is I have a jailbroken a Fire Stick. So like I watch every game on Sundays, and then like the Niner game, whatever time slot it is, usually I'll just bounce around during the thing, or I'll have the RedZone on one TV and the Niners on the other. So for the most part, I watch every game, but like this week, I actually focus on certain teams like I've been wanting to watch. And Jesus Christ, some of these teams out there, man, like they have good records, but they're very bad teams. Like it's hard to watch.
It's like you see the opposite story too. Some teams that should be better than they are, and some teams that are way probably better than their record probably insinuates. I mean, way worse than the record insinuates.
So like now that I get to see the Niners and talk about the Chargers, like the Chargers are actually one of those teams like that I want to talk about because like when I was watching them this weekend, it's like, wow, like what in the world? Like it doesn't make sense, and I get. There's a lot to talk about there. Before we even do, Rohan, are you verified on Twitter yet? I mean, I see everyone is becoming verified nowadays. I don't know what it is. I'm kind of like I'm not big on social media like that anymore. Kind of like trying to do other things in the college route. What is this Twitter Blue? Please inform me. Should I do it? What are the benefits? Like I have no knock on it. Like I think that's pretty cool that people are getting like a check mark on by their name and everything. Does it help with social media?
I am not verified on Twitter with the Twitter Blue stuff. Funnily enough, I was going to apply 2 weeks ago before Elon bought it, and then they told who I was talking to told me about you have to do this pay to service thing, and I was like, that's okay if I can get the legitimate verification, not to subscribe through Twitter Blue. And then Elon bought it and it all went crazy. Essentially, you can pay for a check mark. You pay $8 a month, you can get a check mark. We already saw the ramifications. I've seen like 4 Adam Schefter tweets about different things. We've seen a lot of crazy tweets. And I saw something that I very much resonate with. Dude, imagine this happened during the trade deadline. That would have been crazy. Everybody saying the Packers traded for somebody or another, and then finding out, nope, none of that is true. But I mean, Twitter Blue is just essentially you pay, you get a check mark, but that check mark is not like a normal check mark, and so they're trying to like limit parody, but there's so many parody accounts.
But does it help with anything like in terms of like if you pay for the verification, like because I know some people it might help in terms of like pushing their stuff to like the top of the feed. I don't know how Twitter's gonna work now. Because they changed their algorithm.
I do believe that it will happen. I do believe it does help you with the algorithm. So that's the one benefit to me. That's why I think it helps, because you are a verified person. So I do believe that in the algorithm it does help you.
Okay, so that makes sense. Like for example, like because you and I, we both do. Everyone knows you and I cover college sports as well as the 49ers. I cover Stanford, and Rohan covers Wisconsin. So like in that case, it kind of would help me in terms of covering Stanford. Like, I mean, it's going to be pushed out to more people. It's going to go to the top of the food chain on the Stanford when people go and search Stanford or Wisconsin. So that would help us in a way. But like for me, $8.99, that's a nice cold beer, like every month.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I might do it. I got to look up I got to do research on it and everything. But going to football and not talking Twitter verification, because obviously that's a hot topic today. So I thought it was an interesting question. wanted you to inform me a little bit today. Rohan, the 49ers just got healthy at the right time. I mean, they opened up the practice window for Elijah Mitchell, Jason Verrett's going, Colton McKivitz, Dre Greenlaw. They just opened up after the press conference. They opened up Jordan Willis. That's 5 players, it sounds like. And then plus, it kind of sounds like Eric Armstead is kind of getting healthy again. I know I don't know if I had text you or if it was Jesse Naylor from Last Second Sports, but I had text him, hey, it doesn't sound good. He should be placed on the IR. That's what I had told. But with the amount of people you could bring back from the IR, I think they elected to not put him on the IR just because they have so many guys coming back already. But he should have been placed on the IR. His season is kind of in jeopardy because when you have a fracture on the foot plus another the whatever other issue he's doing with 2 feet, like he's has issues on both feet. It's not just one foot. And I had text. I don't know if did I text you or was it just Jesse?
It was probably Jesse. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I texted Jesse like when I found out, hey, what the heck? I was like, bro, he might be done. Like it's a serious issue. But we find out that it's a chipped foot. He might not come back for another week or so, but hopefully he comes back sooner. What are the thoughts on the 49ers finally getting healthy coming out of the bye week?
Yeah, I mean, real quick on Arik Armstead, I just spoke on 49ers First Take, his show, about Armstead. My belief, I think he's going to come back in week 13. The reason being the 49ers play in week 10, week 12, not 13, week 12. The 49ers play in week 10 at home, which is a good game for Armstead to come back, but they face Mexico City in week 11. They face the Cardinals in Mexico City in week 11. So the altitude of the game, as well as the flight, that might hurt Armstead in his rehab and maybe set him back. But you have 3 straight home games after that. Week 12 is the Saints, week 13 is the Dolphins, and week 14 is the Buccaneers. That's the good 3-week stretch where you're in one place the entire time. You can rehab well, and you're playing on grass for 3 straight weeks to get acclimated. So to me, I think that's where I think Armstead will return. But as for the remainder of the health, it's huge, right? I've talked a lot about the 49ers being inconsistent this year, but a lot of people could attribute that to injury as well. The 49ers have been one of the most injured teams, probably the most injured team this year in football. And so now you have all your pieces back. While it means the excuses are low because you are getting healthier, it also means that you're at your best strength. You can finally achieve that potential. And we saw the benefits of that potential in that second half against the Rams. Defense allowed 0 points. Offense scored 3 straight touchdowns on consecutive drives. You see the potential, and now you're adding even more pieces to the build. I think this is a team that is poised for a breakout, but needs to prove that they can be consistent.
That's exactly what I think because obviously everything that's going on, and then you're starting to get the health back. You're starting to get you're kind of getting a vibe back from the 49ers, right? Like they understand, like, hey, we haven't been healthy. We have not been playing good ball. You hear Fred Warner saying it, like, this is the time to go on a run. The good thing, they play the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, the Los Angeles Chargers I believe they're 5-3. I could be wrong. It might be 5-2.
Yeah, they're 5-3. They're 5-3. Yeah.
Rohan, they're a very bad 5-3 team. Like, very bad. They did everything in the offseason to get better. They went out and they signed a lot of defensive players. They traded for defensive players. They did everything they could defensively to get better because that's where they were struggling. They didn't get better defensively. They got worse.
They got worse, opinion. Yeah.
Their run game is the worst run defense I've seen in a very long time. And statistically, it's funny because I was saying that when I was watching them play last week against the Atlanta Falcons, who they beat by 3 points. They beat. So the 49ers did not beat. So I can't say that the 49ers are a better team yet until the 49ers go out and beat the Chargers. But it was just gross watching them run fit, watching them to try to play a defense when Atlanta ran the ball for, I want to say, like 300 yards. It was gross. Like, it looked like 300. It might have been way less, but I'm not going to look at the stats like that in terms of – but if I was to take a guess, I'd probably say they ran for 200 to 250.
Yeah.
They cannot stop the run game at all. And yes, CJ Gray said it. Patterson just ran a dude over. He ran over, I want to say it was Drew Tranquil. Oh my God, he
Yeah,
lit him
the
up
linebacker.
for a touchdown. It was just ugly. Um, Atlanta should have won that game if it wasn't for their defensive lineman deciding that, or
Fumbling.
defensive lineman thinking he was a running back, picks up a fumble, takes off, and then just like drops the ball like midway, like at like the 50-yard line, and then Atlanta ends up, Los Angeles ends up winning. But going into this game, Rohan, is this a must win for the 49ers? Because everyone, I'm going to ask the question straight up because you're 4-4 coming out of a bye week, going into week 10. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, the 49ers could win the division, but Seattle is they're rolling."
Yeah.
Seattle looks like a really good team. Their defense is playing good. They are running the ball very well. And Geno Smith, he's not going to slow down because what they're doing is very sustainable. He's not throwing 400 yards a week. He's throwing 250, two touchdowns and interception. He's playing very good football, so it's very sustainable. Do you think this is a must-win football game?
I don't. And the reason being, 49ers are 4-4. I think if you end up being 4-5, you still have a good shot at making the playoffs and potentially even winning the division. I think there's still a possibility given that you face Seattle in week 15. But to me, here's how I view it. The 49ers have struggled coming off bye weeks for some reason. They are not good in the Kyle Shanahan era off of bye weeks. Obviously, the Chargers are a matchup, and this is a home matchup. That's a favorable matchup and a home matchup. I think that does bode well for a team that is getting back to full strength, both on the offensive line and in the running game. But to me, I don't think this is a must win. I think the 49ers do have a favorable schedule after that, in that they face the Cardinals, who have struggled this year. They face the Dolphins at home. That might be a tough game, but they face the
Ooh, them Dolphins
Buccaneers
are
after
good.
that. Yeah, they face the Buccaneers and then they face the Seahawks. I still think that the Seahawks are a very good team. They're 6-3. They have a 1 game lead, but remember the 49ers have the tiebreaker and really control their own destiny in that fact, in that they face the Seahawks in week 15. The Seahawks face the Buccaneers, the Raiders, the Rams, and the Panthers before that, but they also face the Chiefs and the Rams again later on in the season. I think that this isn't a must win, but it would be a wake up call if they lost this game, coming with the amount of injuries that they have coming back, as well as the poor state of the Chargers franchise right now, who, while they're 5-3, they haven't had their bye week yet. Their bye week is in week 11. They're a tired team with injuries, and they haven't played well against the run.
So I'm going to say this is a must win game for the 49ers. So the reason is you come off like their last 3 games, their last stretch that they had, they got whipped on by the Falcons, they got whipped on by the Chiefs, they whoop on the Rams, but they always beat the Rams, right? Like that's something like it's death taxes and the 49ers beating the Rams. It's what's going to happen. Like there's nothing you could say about that. And then you want to see them stack a win on top of what they just did to the Rams, right? Like if they come out and they lose, it's like, well, the 49ers are who we thought they were. That's what people are going to start saying. I think they're a playoff team that's going to have a deep run because of their run game and defense. So this is a must win because if you want to stay in that in the standings, right? Seattle's through 6-3. If you fall this week, Seattle plays. They play a Buccaneers team that they could beat. If Seattle comes out and they're 7-3 and you're 4-5, that's a 3-game margin on you in the win column. And now you essentially have to win out because the Seattle Seahawks, they have the Raiders, they have the Panthers, they have the Rams, and they have the Rams twice, and the Rams don't look good, right? So the situation starts getting harder for the 49ers to win the division. So this is a must-win game because you have to stack a good game on top of a good game. Now the good thing is they could run the ball 40 times this week and blow the Los Angeles Chargers out. Like this is something you have to do. You have to come in, you have to play lights out defensively, you have to run the ball strong, and you have to get a win. There's no question, there's nothing around it. I'm gonna straight up say it. If you lose this week, the 49ers will not win the division. This is a must-win game because
Okay, there we go.
because it just the way it works, right? Like if you're looking at I know you're better with numbers than I am. I'm not the greatest with numbers, but when I look at it and I look at the standings, it's like okay, if a team is 7-3, which I believe that's what if they're 7-3, which Seattle might be at the end of the week,
Hmm.
and you're sitting there 4-5, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, well, I'm hoping I beat Seattle, right? Because Seattle's a good team. We don't,
Yeah,
49er fans, we don't want to say it yet, but Seattle's a good team. Like
they're good.
their defense is good. Like they might not get after the quarterback as well as the teams want to, but they're good.
Hmm.
But it just puts you back in that situation, and I like that. I see some people in there are like Sin says we can't lose. Someone's saying I'm changing their mind. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to just what I feel. If they lose, you're gonna be a 6 or 7 seed, and you're looking at like you're playing the most likely the Vikings are on the road and Cowboys, and those are two teams that I mean I'd rather play the Vikings, but
I'd
I
take the
feel I
Vikings
do
any day.
I'd rather play the Vikings, but going to the Chargers, Rohan, offensively,
Yeah.
they're down to Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Joshua Palmer, and then it looks like Keenan Allen might come back this week. Like he's starting to practice,
Hmm.
but with him, we never know because like that injury that he's dealing with, I believe it's a hamstring. He gets better and then he like takes 5 steps back. So like,
Yeah.
what do they need to do offensively to win? And how does the 49ers defense have to counterattack what they need to do?
Yeah, to me, I honestly think it's target. If Jason Verrett comes back, target Jason Verrett. If Diamond Lenore remains at outside, target Diamond Lenore and utilize that middle of the field against it be it Dre Greenlaw because you have one of the most prolific running back weapons in the receiving game. Now, I'm not a fan of the Chargers offense in terms of their play calling. I don't believe they called a pass play. I think a tweet that I read and I saw, they didn't call a pass play over 7 yards in the first half of the last week. They are limiting Justin Herbert, but that works to the 49ers' benefit. And so to me, if you can limit the explosive plays as the 49ers, I think that that's where it is. Yes, no Mike Williams and no Keenan Allen is going to be huge if that ends up being the case, but they need to be able to stop the run without Ark Armstead, which has been an issue at times this year. We saw it against Atlanta without Nick Bosa as well, and we saw it against the Chiefs at times where, let's be honest, not that great running backs were able to pound were able to pound up and have a good game. So you're going to need to stop the run. That's the number one thing, and you're going to need to limit the explosive plays because that's where the Chargers offense, I think, can really punish this team.
I definitely get what you're saying. So like for me, if I'm Justin Herbert, I'm telling my offensive coordinator, get me on the move. Move my pocket. Do not allow Nick Bosa. Do not allow the guys like Samson Ebukon if he's going. Do not
Yeah.
allow them to come at me like that. Do not allow them to make me uncomfortable. Move my pocket. Now you have Joshua Palmer. You're going to see a lot of crossing routes, a lot of drags. You're going to see a lot of stuff like that with Gerald Everett, Joshua Palmer, Austin Eckler in the flat. You're going to see a lot of that. I don't. If I'm the 49ers, I'm not. Nothing deep is scaring me. They have no one deep. DeAndre Carter doesn't scare
Yep.
me deep. You don't have anyone out there. You don't have Mike Williams taking the top off. So what I'm doing if I'm D'Amico Ryans is you're going to see a lot talking. I don't know what is going on. Rohan, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay. So what I'm doing if I'm D'Amico Ryans is I'm playing very aggressive, right? Because
Stunts,
Justin
blitzes, stunts.
everything. I'm throwing things that he hasn't seen on tape from us yet because this is a game that we must win. This is a situation where Justin Herbert will turn over the ball. He is not afraid to throw the ball in tight coverages, tight windows, which leads to interceptions. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a lot of people in his face. I'm sending blitzes, Fred Warner's, the Dre Greenlaws, the Zizel Shairs on blitzes. I'm sending a corner blitz, safety blitz. Everything's coming at him. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to disguise so many different things at Justin Herbert because when he knows what's going on pre-snap and that look doesn't change post-snap, he could pick you apart. Like he is that good of a quarterback. Now where he lacks, and it's just a young quarterback. It's nothing major. Is post-snap is where he kind of gets a little bit confused every once in a while. So I would try to confuse him a little bit. Now you better stop Austin Eckler. You have to have a plan for him because he could tear up your game plan in a minute. He is an animal, an absolute animal in the run game, in the pass game, as a player in general. So for me, wherever he is, Fred Warner's following.
Mhm.
That's your key. You're matched up on Austin Eckler. That's who I trust on him. Maybe Jimmy Ward, depending on the situation, right? Like, but I think what D'Amico Ryan's needs to come out and do is get in Justin Herbert's face and bully him, and take over the game defensively. Because offensively, I know what I want to do, but I want to ask you offensively, is the game plan to run the ball down the throat? Is the game plan to once you get up, don't let up and actually start slinging the ball around and see what you have with your offense now that you have CMC in the backfield? Like, do you see what your
Right.
offense can do in the pass game? Or do you go into this game and like, okay, well, we know we could run the ball 45 to 50 times and absolutely dominate this game in the run game because just that Los Angeles Chargers team is giving up 5.7 yards per carry.
I think that you have to start with the run game just based on how it's gone. I think that that's a huge part of what the Chargers have struggled at. And it doesn't really seem like they're going to be better, right? Just miraculously this week. It's not like they have guys coming back. Sebastian Joseph Day is a guy who they signed in the offseason. Him, Jerry Tillery, Covington. I don't think that that scares you, especially without Austin Johnson, who's on IR, without Joey Bosa, who's on IR. You did get back Khalil Mack, but you got to run the football because it works for you. And also, with that, utilize the run to set up the pass. Because to be honest, I don't think the Chargers' pass defense is scaring me that much. Their trio of linebackers doesn't scare me as much. Derwin James is huge. Asante Samuel's huge, but they did lose J.C. Jackson, who hasn't been playing that well. I don't think it scares you that much to where you absolutely abandon the pass, but I do think that it will be a run-centric focus.
So now that we know that you're gonna have Elijah Mitchell back, you're gonna have CMC in the backfield. How should the carries be split? Because obviously Elijah Mitchell's coming back from that sprained MCL. CMC's healthy. I mean, he had a bye week this week. Do you allow CMC to carry the workload? Do you split it 50-50? What do you do? Because if it's not split the right way, if CMC does not get way more touch, if it's not 60-40, you're going to see, or even 70-30, the fan base is going to blow up. Why would you trade? Why would you trade Jeff Wilson Jr. when he could have split carries with Elijah Mitchell? He was having a great season. What the hell is wrong with you, John? Like, you're going to hear that, right? Like, I could already see it on the timeline. Like, I could see that. So do you think it should be 50-50, 70-30, 60-40? What should the percentage be split in the backfield in terms of plays, carries, like touches, however you want to put it? How should it be split?
I have a twofold answer to this. I think for the carry part, this game specifically, I think McCaffrey should dominate the carries, probably closer to 70-30 than the 50-50. In my opinion, I do think that McCaffrey, I mean, you did trade the draft capital for him, but I do think that McCaffrey right now has that lead back role. And as funny as it sounds, he's more prepared right now than Elijah Mitchell because Mitchell has been spending the last 8-9 weeks on IR. He might not be in game shape yet. So I think it's better to slowly incorporate him in. But I do think that as the season prolongs, you do want more Elijah Mitchell in there as well. Not at all a slight at CMC, but I think the importance of getting CMC, acquiring him at the midseason mark, was to keep both players healthy. Both have had injury histories, both have had certain injury issues, and I think that if you mitigate both snaps while maximizing their output, I think that that's what's most favorable for the 49ers. So I think later on, you might see Mitchell get a couple of more carries than you would in this game, while McCaffrey takes on that third down load. But I think in this game, especially with Mitchell just coming back, you do expect a McCaffrey dominant load.
So if I'm Kyle, I'm probably splitting it 50-50. Only because what I
Let's hear
saw
it.
last week from Atlanta. So I got to go look at the stats because I see
Because
how.
Algier.
Yeah,
I know
okay.
Algier's line. He had 10 carries for 99 yards, and then Patterson had the 2 touchdowns.
But they like the way they split the carries, in my opinion, was so smart in terms of they kept their backs super fresh because they even let Huntley carry it. So Algier had 10 for 99, Patterson 13 for 44, and then Huntley had 7 for 34. They ran for 200 yards um, in that game. Like, so if you put together, like, let's just say hypothetically, 49ers give, let's say, Algier's reps to those snaps to Elijah
Mitchell?
Mitchell, and then 13 for Cordell Patterson towards CMC. Cordell Patterson also got a reception. So did Tyler Algier. And then those other 7 I split. Like so you're going to have around 55-45 or 50-50 kind of split because keeping your running backs legs fresh and keeping them healthy. You have a deep stretch of the season where you're going to have to ask Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell to carry you for a majority of the stretch. Like you're not going to ask Jimmy Garoppolo to go out there and throw 35 times. Like that's not why they traded for
Right.
Christian McCaffrey. Like the situation, going into the remainder of the season, Christian McCaffrey's going to have 35 to 40 uh plus yard like games like where he touches the ball, he has to get
Mhm.
that many catches like against 49ers remaining schedule against a team like oh geez, where'd it go? I lost my schedule. I usually have a schedule up every time we talk.
But we
Like
play the
against like
Cardinals.
But against a team like the Dolphins, against a team like the Saints, where the offense could put up points. They could score. You want to keep the ball out of their hands. To run the ball, you have to probably run him 25, 30 times. Elijah Mitchell
Mhm.
10, 15. Like you're gonna have to keep away in a sense because I don't think we could score at the elite level with these teams that are explosive. Our quarterback unfortunately can't do that. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm splitting carries until I have to give all of the carries and all of the workload to CMC. That's what I would do. I hope they do that. But I actually want to see some TDP or a Jordan Mason.
Oh, he
Like I
going
want to
deep
see
into that bag.
I want to see 40 plus carries. My magic number is 35 for a win. Like if you're at 35, you're set in stone. Like you won the game. 40 is you're dominating the game so bad that you had to go to the run game a lot sooner than you wanted because you were trying to just kill the clock at that point. I want to see 3 backs. I don't want to see 2. I want to see TDP. I want to see even possibly even a Jordan Mason, whichever one is that third back. It is time to start giving these young rookies 1 to 2 carries a game because what it's going to only do for you is keep your running backs' legs fresher. Now, when you get into the playoffs, they have that extra juice. And that's what I hope Kyle Shanahan does. Um, but I can't wait to see Elijah Mitchell because week 1, he looked the best I've seen him since his college days. Like he looked that explosive, that decisive when he cut. I'm excited for it. Rohan, talk to me about Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and whoever you also want to name on the offense going this week. What should we see? What should the style of offense be? Obviously, we know it's going to be run heavy because of the team they're playing. But what should we see in terms of like schematic wise? What should we see?
Mhm. Mhm. I think this is going to be a very interesting week, and I'm going to definitely be keep eyes on Debo Samuel. How do the 49ers use him schematically? Because it's the first time that we're really going to see Samuel and McCaffrey fully implemented into the offense. And so, does Shanahan have extra packages that he uses? Does he go into that zone read kind of scheme and have both
I'm
backs?
I'm dead. So
What happened?
just I gotta stop. I gotta stop because you know how we were talking about earlier how we're gonna have like those ball sack sports. Yeah, I said ball sack on the podcast. There's gonna be people that are laughing right now. Pause. But ball sack sports tweeted out Josh Allen has been ruled out Sunday versus the Vikings with a grade 3 penile fracture.
Oh man, this is
And
this
then
is exactly. I think, are they verified?
They're verified now because they have the Twitter thing. But then one of like the guys that I follow for like physical therapy, like a really good guy to follow in terms of like telling you like whether when players get injured, he looks at the video and he literally tells what injury they have, and he's like, that's going to be at least 4 to 6 weeks for Josh Allen. We won't be pitching for a while. Not a hard injury to come back from, but definitely a tough pill to swallow for the Bills fans.
That's funny. That's
But
funny.
it's like
But
that was funny.
overall, yeah, I mean, when we talk about these guys, I think the 49ers, I'm very interested to see how does Dio Samuel get used. I think him, he, I said last week, this might be a hot take. I said last week he's been the most disappointing offensive player this year. And that's just because of the expectations that, not expectations, but the season he had last year, combined with the drop issues, combined with some of the health issues as well. But overall, because of the emergence of Brandon Ayuk, what happened here? There we go.
All right, we're
But
good. We're good.
I was saying because of the kind of the addition or the emergence of Brandon Ayuk, I think Deebo Samuel's been disappointing this year. And so I want to see how do the 49ers get him the ball more? How do the 49ers kind of play into his strengths? So are there going to be screens called? Are there going to be what's kind of the game plan there? And how do you get him to be more effective? So I want to see in a way more Deebo Samuel out of the backfield as a receiver. CMC, Deebo Samuel, both out of the backfield as receivers. I think that would be cool, a cool schematic kind of way to utilize them. As for the other guys, I mean CMC, I think you can see maybe CMC in the slot at times if you want to use Elijah Mitchell and CMC, kind of change up the personnel. But I think this personnel is going to be very, very interesting for the 49ers because you can implement 21 personnel, force the Chargers to get in their base defense and kill the base defense.
Absolutely love that you said put CMC in the slot, put Elijah Mitchell in the backfield. Now, if you have those two on the field, like you could do so much because CMC is actually a really good route runner. He's actually a guy you could use as a gadget guy. So what I noticed a lot from, and I think Kyle might do it because what happened was I was watching Dallas a few weeks back, and what they did is they have Tony Pollard in the slot. He goes in motion. Zeke goes back into motion and lines up in the slot. He comes back into the backfield. Next thing you know, Tony Pollard is running a jet sweep, like a fake jet sweep. Then they're rolling out Dak. No, it wasn't Dak Prescott. It was Cooper Rush throwing back a screen to Tony Pollard. So like you get so creative because there's so many things you could do in that kind of set. Like you could literally, like it's amazing what you could do when you have literally positionless football. A way to get Debo the ball is get his ass in shape, man. Like he's out of shape. I have not seen Debo in like the fan base. People aren't talking about it. I don't talk about it. I don't talk much on social media anymore. I kind of like took the back road and kind of going college route. You know, like it's just trying to. It's the fans are funner in college. Like they're not as personal. Like they're like if they disagree with you, they'll disagree with you respectfully. Like versus when people want to disagree in like the NFL conversation, it's like you idiot, you suck. Like versus like they attack you personally. Is like bro, like
Yeah.
that hurt my feelings. Oh my god, like but like for me, it's like it just makes more sense. Like for me, like, chiller. Like just I don't have to like get hyped up and like reply. But Debo Samuel is out of shape. He's not running routes like he normally has. A
That's
lot
been
of
a
his
thing too.
routes.
Yeah, the routes running hasn't been as crisp as before. That's why I said he's the most disappointing player in the offense in the first half.
Absolutely, dude. His routes are like if I'm paying you 20 million a year, whatever the hell he's getting paid a year, bro, run a clear out. God damn it. If that play calls for you to run a clear out, run a damn clear out. And this is before that hamstring injury. Like, do your damn job. But then like he gets mad when he's not getting the ball. Like he looks frustrated. It's like, well, you're not doing your job. You don't deserve the damn ball. Like that's how Kyle works. Kyle will feed you the ball if you are blocking in the run game, if you are running your proper clear routes or your actual routes the right way, which opens up the entire offense. On one of the plays, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, maybe, or the Rams game maybe before, there was a pass to George Kittle that um, Debo's supposed to run a clear out. He's running a vertical to clear out, and it's going to get you. You're going to have two guys come in on crossing routes to the sideline. And Debo's route was so sluggish, so bad that his guy could have gotten an interception because the ball's deflected because that route was so bad. Like, you got to sell your routes. You got to play. And it's one of those ones where Debo is an elite athlete. He should not be playing like that, like how he is effort wise and stuff like that. But what I'm excited for is I saw a video of Debo Samuel in practice today, and he looked like he had his juice back. He looked like maybe he needed a bye week earlier than we thought. I don't know. I don't know if his body wasn't reacting or got banged up that we didn't hear about outside of the hamstring,
Right. That could have been a thing.
but it could have been. But I seen a video from today. He looked he looked like he was moving, and when he gets moving, and you add him when he goes back to what he was last year in terms of receiver, running, whatever you guys people want to call him, wide back receiver, whatever we call him. We go back to Debo. Brandon Ayuk, what he is now, he looks like a better receiver than Debo Samuel is in general. Add that to CMC. Add that to George Kittle, who's been playing some phenomenal football as
He's
of
played
late.
well.
Jimmy Garoppolo has played well. He hasn't played amazing, hasn't played bad. He's played good ball. This offense should be scoring 28 to 30 points a game. Like, there's no reason they don't. And if they don't, it's going to be a question of, is it Kyle or is it Jimmy? And at the end of the day, it's gonna be those ones where you have to dig deep in the film. You have to dig deep in understanding what is going on, and not just watching the film like there's a guy open here. So like you got to know like the concepts, what's going on and stuff like, and that's what's hard. You don't know. For most fans, they don't understand, and me too. Like, it's hard because you don't know what they were asked to do in a certain situation against a certain coverage. I'm not in the meeting rooms. We're not in the meeting rooms where we can say, okay, this is the first route that we want that he was supposed to go like this. Yeah, even though the playbook says that, like you and I have playbooks, and we both have them.
Yeah.
Even though the playbook says route number 1, that's your first read. But if depending on the coverage and everything, it changes.
It could change. Exactly.
Like, depending
Like,
on what
there might
they
be a
talked
hot
about in
route.
that.
There might be a hot route that's route number 4, but that changes if it's a cover 0 blitz to where you just hit the hot route.
Exactly. Like, when I was talking to college people, like I was asking them, like, okay, like obviously you have a look versus certain coverages, but let's say you get a look versus a different coverage post snap. Does it change your reads? And that the quarterback was like, absolutely. He was like, especially that week. He goes, week to week it changes. Like, one week we playing a team, and if they come down and they're in a more of a cover 2, and then they change immediately to a cover 3, or they go cover 0 and they send a nasty blitz at us, or whatever the case may be. He goes, everything changes instantly. He was like, and that's what a lot of fans don't understand, because we're talking about like the concepts and stuff. So that's something that for me, I'm like, okay, like how do I figure out which one is it? And you're not going to know because we're not in the meeting rooms. So for me, that's where it comes down to, like, we have to like nitpick. Okay, what is it? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? But I expect the 49ers to score 28 points against this terrible Chargers defense. Like, they should blow them out.
I think that this go ahead.
Go ahead. You're good.
No, I was just going to agree. I do think that this offense, in a way, I have the excuses low. While I said this isn't a must-win game, I have the excuses low because this offense, this is the best formula to succeed. This Chargers defense is not good. They haven't been able to defend the run, and they're missing J.C. Jackson as well as Joey Bosa. So to me, I think you still have a firm core where this offense should be able to replicate what they did against the Rams.
Talk to me about what do the 49ers do if Khalil Mack is matched up on Mike McGlinchey? Because he could still wreck a game. He still has it in him.
No.
And Mike McGlinchey struggled.
But remember, when he's matched up against McGlinchey, that doesn't mean he's matched up against McGlinchey. We've seen the screenshots where the guy will just run free. McGlinchey will be looking in the front, and the guy will run right past him. So we don't know if he's matched up against McGlinchey or not. It might just be matched up against Air. But speaking realistically,
man, what's hecka funny is like the fact that you say that and you make a joke about it, right? And then Mike McGlinchey goes and is like, I 49er fans, I'm sorry that you guys didn't get Derwin James and you guys got me. Like you
That
guys
was that
got
was that was
me.
interesting
I
today.
was
Yeah.
like, what? I was like, first of all, bro, like don't ever put your name with Derwin James because we all wanted Derwin James as a fan base, and then they drafted him, and then he turns into being this dude who decides not to block players when it's obviously his guy, and then the 49ers know he's struggling, so they put two tight ends on his side to give up
And it still
extra
doesn't work.
cushion,
Yeah.
and he still doesn't do anything. Like the fact that he mentioned Derwin James, like, I'm sorry, you guys got socks and I forgot what he said, socks and shirts or whatever.
Underwear.
Socks and underwear. Yeah, socks
Yeah.
and underwear instead. I was like, bro, like you're terrible. Why would you say that right now? Like you play terrible.
Yeah, but really, realistically speaking, Mike McGlinchey hasn't probably been as bad as people talk about. I think Mike McGlinchey has been. It's not underrated. I just think that the big plays that he messes up get blown into magnitude because they come at the most inopportune times. The sack in the red zone, that is unacceptable. You can't have that. Penalties at certain times, that is unacceptable. You can't have that. I do think that McGlinchey has had some good reps against certain big name players this year. I think that McGlinchey is going to be a serviceable guy, but if Khalil Mack, like the way that I look at it, they run a 3-4. Khalil Mack, in my opinion, is the only threat on that defense. To not the only threat, but the main threat on that defense. Chip him, block him, double team him if you need to, but don't let Khalil Mack go one-on-one significant amount of times against Mike McGlinchey if they line him up on that side.
Yeah, they gotta do something, right? Because it tends to seem that Jimmy is kind of flustered when Mike makes a bad play, like the remainder of the game or the remainder of that drive, you can see he's flustered. He's constantly looking that way, like he has like a quick glance that way before the throw or and everything just to see if he has pressure. Like he's feeling pressure that isn't there because of how Mike has played. Like you don't expect to be sacked within a second when you have a right tackle out there. Like you don't, like you really don't, and it kind of sucks on Jimmy Garoppolo's part. But I think it's affecting Jimmy's mindset in terms of his clock is sped up, his clock is a little off, and you can see it. He's a little antsy in the pocket in a way because of Mike McGlinchey. Now it's fixable. Mike just got to start blocking people. Don't block the air. But going to for predictions, right? The keys to win. You and I both said run the ball heavily on offense. Defensively, do what you got to do to confuse and disrupt Justin Herbert. Give me a score prediction, and then we'll go into a couple other predictions in terms of players. Give me a score prediction.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I thought the Chargers would win this game. Uh, Even with the situation, I just thought the Chargers were a better football team. I thought that they'd beat the 49ers, and quarterback play would be the big difference because even though the Chargers haven't had a bye, the 49ers coming off a bye. Right now, while I don't think this is a must win, I do think the 49ers put up a good fight. I think they score 27 points. I think the Chargers offense will score 20 to 24 points. And I think that 49ers will end up winning this game. But again, I would not be shocked at all if the Chargers won this game. But to me, the 49ers have the ability to control this game. It depends really on how does their defense respond against Austin Eckler and company. But I think it'd end up being somewhere around 27 to 20.
And I think that's the score 27-20 is roughly where it should be, because the Chargers have a good quarterback on the other side. He can score points. They have good weapons in terms of Christian McCaffrey. I think Joshua Palmer is a better receiver than a lot of people think. He is a very good receiver. But I think it's going to be 28-13. I think
Okay.
the 49ers come out and make a statement defensively. A lot of people, the 49ers here, let me say something. The 49ers hear a lot of you on Twitter, a lot of you in spaces saying that this is not an elite defense. They hear it. They hear it. Trust me. It's I've talked to a player in the locker room. He hears it. He said that the 49ers defense is pissed off that they're not they're getting that their fan base that their fan base, that's what he said, that their fan base says they are not elite. what happened to the elite defense from the first few weeks of the season.
Mhm.
This team's going to come out and shock people on Sunday Night Football, and put an exclamation mark that they are contenders in the NFL.
It's the
28 to
best time to
13.
do it.
Everyone's watching. They're going to come out. They're going to put a statement out there. They're going to Justin Herbert gets sacked 3 to 4 times this game. Joshua Palmer is going to be probably blanketed by Charvarius Ward, whoever else they put on him. That's the only receiver you got to really pay attention to, and they're going to do everything they can to shut down the running back. So to me, it's one of those games. After talking to a player on the team, and he was being heck transparent with me, like we heard a lot of negativity during the bye week. We got away. We all talked to each other before the bye week in a meeting. We said, hey, like we got to figure shit out. This is a time we got to figure shit out. It's about us getting better and actually fixing what we can fix, because there's a lot of stuff that's very fixable, mental
Yeah.
errors, that stuff like that. Like, so for me, I think this is a time they're finally healthy. They're getting a lot of dudes back. This is where they go out and they make a strong statement.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a fair prediction. We'll see if it comes true. If that is, the 49ers defense does cement their status again, like it seems like they want to do.
But the thing though, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't cement the status of them being elite again. Only
Oh no,
because,
but it cements the
like,
status of them being able to be contenders in
yeah,
that
because like
regard.
the only like the Chargers offense is only scoring 23 points a game. The 49ers is scoring 22. So like the way I see it, like, okay, well, even if you do shut them down at 13 points, like,
You're
okay,
not
that's
that good
cool.
of an
Like,
offense.
they're not that good of an offense. Like, if we're gonna say the Niners offense isn't good, then we have to say the Chargers offense isn't good. Like, right? Like, you can't, like, we can't flip and flop and like, well, they have a quarterback, so they're good, right? Like, to me, that's how I see it, and I get a lot of fans of like, well, that quarterback is much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. That makes their offense way better. Like, no, it's not how it works. Like, the entire offense has to click, has to glue.
Mm-hmm.
There's games where he looks off. There's games where he looks great. I mean, he doesn't. This year he's cleaned up the interceptions a little bit, but he still has
Yeah,
5 of them. I mean, he's still thrown 13 touchdowns, and he hasn't had his receiver one all season. So, like, for me,
right.
it's like, man, he could steal ball, and the thing is, the dude could run. They like
They
don't
don't
get it.
allow him to. It's funny. They don't allow him to, but he can.
And with against the 49ers, they have a tendency to let running quarterbacks that could run. So we'll
Right.
see how that works and everything. But 28-13, you said 28 or 27-20.
Yeah.
Give me a bold take player of the game kind of thing on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, so we have to go bold. We can't go with the normals,
I mean,
obviously.
you could go north. You don't have it don't have to be bold in terms of like in terms of like, oh, I expect Ambry Thomas to come off the bench and to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna do that or anything. Like, just a random take in terms of who do you think is gonna be defensive player of the game, offensive player of the game. It could be any player. It could be like a backup, like whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, this one's interesting, right? Because when you look at the matchups, my initial takeaway would be if the Chargers are looking to erase Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, especially if they're lined up out of the backfield, my initial takeaway would have been George Kittle. But George Kittle will be lined up against Derwin James. That's a matchup I think that will be interesting. So it is tough to go with him. And so because of that, I think that I'll go with an interesting take. I think it's going to be the duo of Trent Williams and Aaron Banks. People don't talk about him that much, but I think that left side of that offensive line is going to be huge, not only in pass protection, but remember, the Chargers do not play well in run defense. Where are the 49ers best when they run? Towards the left side with those two players. So that's kind of my hot take, probably. Those two are going to be huge factors in this game.
I'm gonna go. I love that you went offensive line. Like, that's, to me, that's bold. And it's in terms of like, you're not going to hear a fan or someone talking ball go offensive line. I love that you said that, giving the offensive line some love. Offensive line is where it starts. Like, you have to dominate the trenches in order to be a good team. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, phenomenal duo right there to be the offense side of the ball. I'm gonna go on the offensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go Brandon Ayuk. I'm gonna go Brandon Ayuk. Everyone eyes are on everyone else but Brandon Ayuk, right? Brandon Ayuk doesn't have the household name. It's the Christian McCaffreys, the Debo Samuels, the George Kittles.
Right.
All attention's on them. You got Derwin James on George Kittle. You got whoever they want to put. Probably going to be Asante Samuel. Probably on Debo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey when he's out in the slot. Like Brandon Ayuk probably might get matched up once in a while with Asante Samuel, but I think Brandon Ayuk is going to look phenomenal. Going back to the 49ers practice against the Chargers, Brandon Ayuk looked good during those scrimmages.
Mhm.
Now, it wasn't just Brandon Ayuk and Jimmy Garoppolo though. It was Brandon Ayuk and I hate saying it, but Trey Lance. So for me, it was very interesting because he looked good in camp against them. Now let's see how it works and how all that goes. Um, I want to see Brandon Ayuk go for 85 to 100 yards and a touchdown. That's what I think
Yeah.
needs to happen, and it's only going to complement the running game, like right, like the play action. Kyle's gonna be in his bag in terms of first down play actions. Once that run game gets going, and the 49ers love running the ball, play action, Brandon Ayuk. And that's where Brandon Ayuk lives over the middle. Those routes that Jimmy could throw great. Um, and I think that's what's going to be player of the game offensively. Defensively, who's the player of the game?
I think that I got to go again with another interesting take. I think this player has the chance to be the player of the game or has the chance to be costly. I'm going to go with Talano Hufanga. The reason being, the 49ers need to stop that run defense. They need to stop Austin Eckler. Sorry, run offense. They need to stop Austin Eckler. They also need a good contain against Justin Herbert if, what you said, they're going to move him outside of the pocket. Hufanga could play some more if in that linebackerish nickel, or sorry, not nickel, in the box role. He also has been a streaky tackler this year. That's where it is mainly. 49ers, I think against this offense, especially against Eckler, a guy known for breaking tackles at times, you're going to need to be able to tackle well, especially with those charging guys fitting the seams because you don't have Ark Armstead. So those linebackers, those safeties are going to need to tackle well. That's kind of where I'm going with this one.
So I'm gonna go, and it's you took the guy I was gonna go with in terms of how the 49ers need to play, but I'm gonna go a guy that's returning on the defensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go Dre Greenlaw.
Okay.
I think Dre Greenlaw is gonna be. I would go Jason Verrett, but I don't think I don't I don't I don't know if he plays yet. I think the 49ers might even hold
Exactly.
him another week, or else I would say that. But if Jason Verrett was playing, I would say Jason Verrett because I think he's gonna come back very, 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 very good. I think he's gonna right away. I think that's what they're holding him back for. They're pretty much ramping him up for game day. Um, but Dre Greenlaw energy kind of has been missing, right? Like his energy, in my opinion, hasn't been the energy that he normally brings on the field. Like I've been a very big critic of Dre Greenlaw, and everyone knows that. Like I've gotten called like a Dre Greenlaw hater because in terms of like I talk very, I think Dre Greenlaw is a player that the fan base loves a little too much. I think like in terms of what he has provided for the 49ers and stuff, he's been a good player. But one thing that he learned from Quan Alexander was that swag, that mentality that I'm better than you. My defense is better than you. We're a bunch of dogs. I know how to hype people up. I make a big hit. I get the whole defense going. Like he kind of is in a sense. Like Fred Warner is the much better player, but I came to the conclusion, and I don't like saying it out loud, but I think Dre Greenlaw might be the energizing bunny of the defense. Like he might be that heart of the defense. Like he really
Mhm.
is that guy that gets them going. He makes Fred Warner play better. Like that's he is a good linebacker. He just tends to be in the wrong spot in terms of run fits, tends to miss some tackles. but I'm kind of going away from in terms of missing tackles. Like if players are going to miss tackles, being aggressive. It's cool. I don't mind that no more. I need that energy. That defense needs the energy. I think he's going to come in energetic, making big plays around the line of scrimmage. Um, I feel like he's going to have a big play, whether it's a fumble that he forces. He's going to have a big play on a big third down or something. It's just coming back. It's the perfect time, perfect situation. Dre Greenlaw makes a big play Sunday night, is the player of the game for me.
I think that's a fair take. I think Drake Greenlaw, it's like he's primed for that game after the injury in a way. And hopefully he does re-energize that defense because you're going to need the tackling ability against the run.
And against the run, like for the 49ers, it's going to be hard because you still have no one in the middle, right? Like I've been trying to see if Kalia Davis is coming back this year. I know he's healthy to go. I know he's like from what I've heard is like he's very close to being a go in terms of how he's moving, like how his health is. He's a year removed from his ACL surgery and ACL injury. So that's roughly the time that players could come back. Like usually it's a year or so. But I don't know if the 49ers just want to completely redshirt him and then allow him to come back fresh, training camp and everything, where he doesn't have to learn on the fly. So I mean, it'll be interesting. But he is a guy that could come in and stop the run. Jordan Willis is a guy that could stop the run. If you throw him in at defensive tackle, stopping the run is going to be key. That's the key to success for the defense and confusing Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think so. Kalia Davis, it's interesting. I didn't believe the 49ers would bring him back even when he got healthy. It was assumed he'd get healthy midseason just because of the roster spots and also to kind of maintain that year so that you can bring him back next year when you get the depth or when depth does leave. It'll be cool, though, if Kalia Davis could come back and make a contribution this year. I know we were both high on him in the draft process.
But is Javon Kinlaw on the injured reserve?
Yeah, he is.
He is, right? So,
yeah.
Man, if he's done, it might be like, hey, Davis, if you're good, we want you to go. Realistically, so the 49ers have a couple of defensive linemen that he's better than in terms of if you look at the roster.
But
right?
are you really gonna? What are you gonna do then? Are you gonna cut somebody at this point of the year? Like, I mean, if we're being honest, I'd cut Akeem Spence for him. But do the 49ers do that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm more so referencing
because Spence has more reps now, right, in this defense. How do you facilitate that? That's all my only question.
I would probably do Spence in terms of everything because honestly, Spence is a guy who does nothing special, right? Like it's nothing like he's like helping the run defense drastically, or if he's doing much better than other guys, like right, like he's kind of getting reps. But I thought they cut him.
They did. Oh, you're right. They did cut him. He's on the practice squad now. Yeah.
Yeah, so they cut him. So like the defensive alignment that they have is Ebukam, Givens, Hyder, Jackson, Omenihu, Ridgeway, Kimoko Torre. Those are the defensive linemen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them.
And then you got
and
you got
8
Bosa
because you got Nick Bosa and Armstead 8 and 9. But Armstead's kind of like the odd man out because we don't know if he's gonna be back or not in terms of health wise.
I think it seems like he will, but week 13 is where I'm thinking, or 12.
But like how soon though? Like is that injury one that's gonna affect him, or it very easily could be re-injured? You know what I mean? Like there's a situation like I don't know if Javon Kinlaw comes back. I've tried asking and I get shut down when I ask questions on that.
Like, I don't think so. Yeah,
I don't think he comes back. That's my guess on how I get turned down on that question. It's so much better, Rohan, working. Something I want to shout out to Rohan. Rohan's been absolutely killing it at Wisconsin, covering the Badgers, Wisconsin Badgers. Rohan, talk to us about because people don't really see what goes on behind the scenes in terms of you're at the games, right? You're doing all this. Talk to me about the people you've not necessarily don't like name drop or anything, but have like the people you meet, they interact with, coaches, players, stuff like that. Like it's amazing what you're doing.
Yeah.
because I obviously I do the same, like we do the same thing kind of style. Talk to me a little bit about that because you've been killing it at Wisconsin. You're a hell of a dude. You're making great connections. Talk to us a little bit about people you've met without dropping any names because I don't want to put your people out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a blast. The workload is a lot, right? Every Monday morning, you have a press conference from head coach Jim Leonard, and then you talk to the players afterwards on Monday. You go back Tuesday at 1 p.m., offensive coordinator Bobby Engram. He hosts his press conference. On Thursday, a Zoom meeting with Leonard. Then the game is on Saturday, and you have that. You've got to talk to the players. You've got to talk to the head coach afterwards. But it's been really fun. Obviously, there have been a lot of media members here that I have a lot of respect for. Have been able to meet a couple of good people. It's been fun talking to the media, but also to the players. The players here a lot more energetic. They're college students. They're just like us. They're college students. They enjoy the process, both basketball and football. Today, I had the pleasure of talking to several college basketball players because I cover college basketball as well. Had media day today, but it's been a fun ride. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's been a fun ride, but it's good because you are able to develop relationships with players. You are able to develop relationships with coaches and the media. So all three, that's kind of been part of my fun this year. And I'm sure you've done a similar thing over there at Stanford.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because like a lot of people were like, "Oh, you guys like." I've had someone message me, "Oh, you don't talk to anyone." Blah blah. I'm like, bro, I've met more since I started doing the Stanford stuff. I've met more people in the NFL world, in a college world that like are pretty good connections. It's like that I could ever imagine. Like I'm like, what the heck?
Exactly.
Like it's
Exactly.
like it's confusing in terms of like that's for me. It's like that's why I'm very confused in terms of, like I don't know if I want to get the Twitter blue or anything because like it kind of looks like I'm buying my verification, but it's like
Mhm.
it's gonna if it's gonna help me in terms of people see my content and for Stanford stuff, I might have to do it. So like I'm excited. I might have to do it. I don't know. Like it's exciting to see more content being pushed out, but like you're in the press box. There's a bunch of scouts in there. You get to go and talk to them,
Yeah.
interact with them, and everything. You go and you interview, obviously, the head coach. You got better access than I do at Stanford because Stanford's locker room isn't open. Your locker room's
Mhm.
open, right? So like Stanford is still.
They bring all of them out. They just bring the players out. So you request whoever, they'll bring them out. Yeah.
Oh, but like you can't go into the locker room.
No, we don't go in the locker room. No.
Okay, so you guys okay, but you guys request like we don't even get to request players. They give us the couple players or whatever. David Shaw's there. We haven't talked to D coordinator, offense coordinator. Like they're very kind of like tight ship, closed ship
Mm.
uh, at Stanford, but like you still get to talk to a lot of amazing people and stuff. Um, met RG3, like talked to RG3 for like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. That was freaking awesome. Like I was like, well, Jesus Christ. Like he was in front of me all day. How's it going, man? Marco, nice to meet you. And he was like, it was funny because like I introduced myself, Mark, like right. And then he goes, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Robert Griffin. Like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I know who you are. Like that's
Yeah.
what I was like,
Who do you
yeah.
think I am?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I know who you are. And he was like, dude, I introduced myself to everyone. Like, it was such a cool experience meeting him and like talking ball and like the press conference, not the press conference, but like in the media box. Um, so I'm glad that you're over there killing it at Wisconsin. I just wanted to give you a light to shine
Appreciate
because
it.
you're
Yeah.
you're killing it over there, man. Everything you do, you kill it on both podcasts. You kill it on the 49ers Red Zone. You have your own personal channel. You go on every day. I look like I'm not on social media anymore as much, but every day I look, Rohan's on like 10 different channels, just going on, doing his thing. He wants to do like I'm pretty sure he's like some computer science engineer, probably like gonna be in NASA,
Yeah.
gonna be working for NASA, sending Elon Musk to like the space one day. But like honestly, he's a hell of a football person, and he's just so smart, such a smart guy. So I'm gonna give you a shout out, Rohan. Appreciate you for everything you do for the podcast and everything. Um, that's it for today's episode. We appreciate every single one of you guys for being on here, joining us, being in the chat. Go 49ers. Make sure you're there at Levi Stadium. I wish I could be there. Don't got money like that. My dad will be there. He's been trying to get me to go, but I ain't got money like that. But Faithful, we out.